In the early days of my tsunami divorce, I had quite the time listing out all of those things that I was convinced I needed in order to heal and move on, as though it was some kind of a sushi menu where I could just check off all the things that I wanted, and within 10 minutes, they would show up at my table. Yeah, didn't happen. In fact, I ultimately didn't receive any of those things that I thought I needed in the early days. And yet, you know what? I still managed to move on. Here are four things that I think we all believe at some point we need to move on after divorce, but that you really don't. The first of those is justice. We have this driving need for fairness. We want them to pay in some way, either financially or karmically, for what they have done. And we feel like we cannot move on until those scales are balanced. But I hate to tell you that this search for fairness, well, it's a bit like chasing the dragon. You're never actually going to get it, at least not in the way that you really want. So here's what I recommend instead. Instead of putting your energy into wishing them ill, put your energy into making you better. Because ultimately, doesn't that still tip the scales in your benefit? We think we need an apology. In fact, for those that have been betrayed or abandoned, that apology, it becomes like this holy grail, this, almost mythical thing of immense power. Oh, if I could only get that apology, that acknowledgement of wrongdoing and of the pain that they caused, then I'd be able to move on. One of the things that really helped me with this one is I had a conversation many years ago with a woman who had received that apology. She even admitted it was the best apology that she could have received. Her ex-husband, who had been unfaithful, took complete and full responsibility. He was fully willing and able to hear all of her pain and acknowledge everything that he had done. He placed no blame on her and instead took on every piece of it. And yet she told me that after that conversation, after that apology that she thought she needed, she actually didn't feel any better. In fact, in some strange ways, she said she felt worse because, well, she had gotten that thing that she thought was the linchpin to healing, and she still was hurting. And that's the thing. These apologies, yeah, they can feel good. It's nice. It's the right thing to do, let's be honest, but you don't need that apology. In fact, by waiting for it, you're choosing to give that person that wronged you the power to continue to hurt you. Don't give them that. They do not deserve to have that power over you. Oftentimes we think we need understanding before we can move on. Well, I have some good news and some bad news. The bad news, perhaps you'll never get understanding, at least not in any meaningful way. The good news, this isn't a class. There's no final exam. It's not like you have to write an essay on, why my ex cheated before you're allowed to get your diploma. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, because I think it's so important. Oftentimes the fact that we can't understand, well, it's actually a reflection on our character. After all, how can you expect to understand something that you can't even imagine doing? At some point, it's okay just to say, I have no idea, close that chapter, and move on. And then finally, we often think we need closure, which I have to kind of laugh at, because if I pressed you, could you even come up with a clear definition of closure? When it comes to divorce and healing, there's no done stamp. There's no finish line. It's not like, the movie's going to end and the credits are going to roll. Life keeps going. And slowly and over time, the divorce is going to be less in the forefront of your mind. The pain is going to slowly fade. The smiles are going to come in. You're going to live more in the present than you are in the past. The closure is not an event. Instead, closure is a decision that you make every single day to live the life that you have and not the life that you lost. Okay, so I've told you what you don't need to heal from divorce, but here's 4 things that you do need. You do need to have belief in yourself. I know that there are days when it feels impossible. Trust me, I've been there. But even on those hardest days, trust that that day isn't every day, that the way that you feel in that moment, or maybe it's this moment, isn't the way that you're always going to feel. I know right now it might feel like you're not strong enough to handle this. And maybe you're not. But you're going to get stronger. Day by day, struggle by struggle, you're going to get stronger. And you will be able to make it through this. I believe in you. Those days when you don't believe in yourself, remember there's one stranger in Atlanta who's cheering you on. In order to heal, you need time. I know I was so impatient with the healing process. I was like, I just want this to be done already. And I have to laugh looking back now. It was about the 3-month mark when I thought that I should be over it, quote unquote. And spoiler alert, I wasn't even close. Time doesn't heal all wounds, but time is needed for all wounds to heal. You need processing in order to move on from divorce. And essentially what I mean by that is this. You're not going to make the pain go away by ignoring it. The only way through is through. You have to face it. You have to listen to it. You have to make some meaning out of it. And then, only then, you can let it go. And then finally, the last thing you need is this: determination. I mean, let's face it, divorce is not for wimps. It is a marathon and a sprint all in one. And there's going to be days when you just don't feel like it. There's going to be days when you're going to have to be your own boot camp instructor that's shoving you out of bed. That desire to heal, that determination to move on, has to be stronger than your pain. Now, I hope that you recognize the power in all of this. All of those things that you do need, you have the power to make them happen. Those are all within you. You are not dependent upon anyone or anything else to bring about your healing. You've got this.